I have something exciting. I want to introduce a product unlike any other product available. A highlight is the product from Daylight Computer Company created their product based on these factors. The Daylight computer is completely blue light free. It has no flicker. Short wavelength flicker is extremely harmful for our eyes and downstream biology. Light flicker is constantly turning our central nervous system on and off. Essentially, it is like going to a light switch and repeatedly turning it on and off. The problem is, blue light and LED light does this, and it is so rapid you cannot even perceive this in real time. The Daylight computer is the lowest stimulation and foremost for sensory sensitive users. It is no question that the alternative product, especially when used at night, do not address or consider this in their product. It is so toxic to human biology. Big tech corporations have patents on how their short wavelength implicate the human nervous system. And a bonus, despite Daylight computer not having backlight, it is very functional for outdoor use. And of course, increased sunlight is always preferred. I am happy to offer a discount for the Daylight computer. You can use the code AUTISM for a $25 off coupon. Again, use the code AUTISM and the discount code for $25 off. See the link in the show notes to Daylight Computer Company, or just give it a quick search in your internet browser. Use the code AUTISM for $25 off. For today's episode, I want to cover the relationship of two prominent phenotypes, or so-called symptoms, of autism. In the DSM, these two symptoms are listed in Criteria B, or the restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interest, or activities. Just a side note, the DSM outlines the person must meet 2 of the 4 Criteria B symptoms. Those 2 symptoms are B.2 and B.3. For today's episode, we will cover the relationship of B.2 and B.3. Before we begin, there are 2 early episodes for each criteria sets. 2 for Criteria A, the social communication and interaction components, and 2 episodes for Criteria B. Those episodes are Episode 2, What is Autism? Deficits in Social Communication and Interaction, and Episode 6, What is Autism? Part 2 of Criteria A. Can you fit in or not? Are you like the so-called normal people or not? And Episode 1, What is Autism? Restricted and Repetitive Behaviors. And Episode 7, What is Autism? Part 2 of Criteria B. Will the so-called normal people accept our differences or not? In addition, there is an episode dedicated to B3. B3 is the core of autism. In addition, at minimum, Criteria B accelerates, influences, or maybe even creates the Criteria A components of the autistic phenotype. Okay, Criteria B2, or symptom B2. It reads in the DSM-5, insistence on sameness, inflexible adherence to routines, or ritualized patterns of verbal or nonverbal behavior. Examples given: extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, need to take the same route or eat the same food every day. And symptom B3, highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal in intensity or focus. Again, with this abnormal to describe an interest and its intensity or focus. It's all very trash to me. Examples given here for B3: strong attachment to or preoccupation with unusual objects, excessively circumscribed or perseverative interest. So, circumscribed essentially means restrict something within limits. Perseverative means repetition, getting stuck, including the speech, similar to the echolalia. Okay, so in episodes and a lot of ex post, I mentioned the Kenner kids and Asperger kids, or he called those kids little professors. A significant amount of Asperger paper talked about autistic intelligence. This is huge, and it is accurate. The Kenner kids and Asperger kids were very, very similar, especially on this fixated interest. The fixated interest and this lack of care or desire, the lack of interaction to the environment, is what took those parents to seek help to understand what is happening with their child, because it's very abnormal. It is always worth mentioning over and over and over again. Maybe a cool and needed use of perseverative is the echolalia. Autism, autist, autistic, comes from autos, which means self. It seems complicated for people to understand autism, mainly because of the nefarious infiltration to create confusion. The confusion cushions the nefarious actions. Regardless, definitions have been changed, and humans love definitions. We love to label things. We love to manipulate things so we can make sense of it. We hate when we cannot make sense of things. It offends us. It offends our beliefs. And we also do not like when our capacity to think and understand of things is challenged or questioned or hits our limitations. Well, guess what? All of that makes us uncomfortable, makes humans uncomfortable. Well, guess what? Autistics don't mind. We are comfortable there. The biology that gives us autism allows us to be comfortable within ourselves. Now here, we could talk about the internal states and state shifts, such as, does the individual cause the state shift, or does something from the outside cause it? We are talking about the central nervous system and learning. We are talking about learning. Another learning method from the outside is one-trial learning. We are talking about the living organism being comfortable learning. In the autistic intelligence, the preferred state, preferred environment is within the self. People overlook this, and it's very frustrating. All of that confusion with what is autism? The outside factors, or as I call them, The external insults are barriers. Social norms are barriers and harmful. Now, another form of learning is, of course, repetition. Don Hepp studied this, the so-called Hebbian learning. This strengthens synaptic connections associated with that activity, that stimuli. This is easy here. This is going to be so easy to understand. Autistics and repetition. Autistics and that innate internal world. We are constantly professing to ourselves, understanding, teaching, and learning theory. Professing accelerates learning and understanding. Being willing to allow yourself to go there. Allow yourself to understand things. Richard Feynman, look up his quotes and interviews. Autistics spend so much time professing to ourselves about limited topics. Limited here is a question. Who determines that? This so-called restricted interest. Society says, have a little knowledge about a little bit of everything, or as much as possible, with a variety of topics. Here is one source. As much as centralized controllers tell society what to know. They tell us what we should know. Centralized education is a significant example. Learn these topics. Learn this curriculum. And then what? It prepares the growing person for what? What does it provide? Easy pass here. I'll learn and study my interest. I will be a knowledgeable person on things I love, I find fascinating, and I will spend as much intensity or focus as I want to those restricted, fixated interests. You call it abnormal. Get it? How and why are others determining what someone else loves? This is wild to me. In Jungian psychology and spiritual teachings even, our Daimon determines our love, our direction, our path. So many people in society lack, and they struggle to, they're just constantly struggling. They lack finding their love. We can even mention things like self-actualization from Maslow or Rogers here, when your true self is congruent with your ideal self. The person determines that. Nobody else should determine that. Humans are ignorant like this. But no surprise, other people are telling other people what to do. We have that ego. This is a part of autism and education as well. Those four, no fewer than 4 contrasts to the autistic phenotype and the classroom. The people determining these new changes and manipulated definitions of autism want to control, want to limit, and or are simply confused and unable to understand. In large part, based on those human components mentioned earlier. We hate when we can't figure things out. With the relationship of B3 and it being a contrast to the outside world, I suspect, and it is unknown to me, if the lack of orienting to the environment, the lack of care, creates and or strengthens or accelerates that preferred fixation of interest. And it is safe to assume, I'm okay with assuming here, that it really implicates the socialness. Remember the episodes on the mesencephalon? There are a couple of episodes hitting on the mesencephalon, also known as the midbrain, autism and eye movements, and 2 episodes on neuroepithelial, like the neurulation and the embryogenesis and so forth. Remember, the mesencephalon does not further subdivide like the other cell types during this embryogenesis stage. And the mesencephalon is very, very small. Its 3 primary roles is motor movement, sensory integration, and based off of those 2, biasing the attention of the living organism to its environment. It's trying to help the living organism move about through the environment. If you are not comfortable within yourself, you will resist, you will struggle, create habitual actions to deflect that back to your comfort, your baseline, your homeostasis. That is what the central nervous system prefers. This comfort, this ability, this bias of our central nervous system is why I have a superpower within the title. This can happen. This is possible. And as long as you understand yourself, and as long as you are not receiving detrimental external insults, this is a problem with society and the fixated interests that autistics can endure. We can become very knowledgeable and so-called experts, even though I really dislike the word expert. It seems like autistics, the original autistic phenotype, they have this superpower, this super ability just to learn and be comfortable with learning things. However, those social norms, those other people, likely with internal conflict on their own, because most people have that. No, all people kind of have that. It's just how much is that interfering with themselves and how much they project that outwards. Humans love to do that. And remember the environments, society, etc. How many of those are optimal for autistics? I would like to mention Chroma, lights designed for humans. Chroma, a Seattle-based innovator founded by ex-NASA and Air Force engineer Michael Shapiro, is on a mission to enhance physical and mental health with purpose-built devices, unlocking peak human health, cognitive function, and performance. Shapiro launched Chroma to restore the natural light lost to screens in indoor living and delivers faster recovery, sharper minds, and better sleep. Their products hit hard. The Iron Forge speeds muscle repair with red and near-infrared light, while the Skylight mimics sunlight to boost sleep and energy. A standout, the Forge lamp, is a portable gem that fires 660 nanometer and 850 nanometer light to energize mitochondria and heal tissues on the go. Remember the 4 red light chromophores on cytochrome C oxidase, frequently talked about in the podcast. This is why. Their products are built with military-grade durability that have lasting impact. Chroma's tech fuses precision and power. Gallium titride power supplies, smaller, cooler, and stronger than silicone, provide flicker-free light that's easy on the eyes. High-powered LEDs target key wavelengths for skin, tissue, and cellular health, with smart heat management for the lasting impact. Every design decision Chroma makes serves a purpose: to create devices that are precise, durable, and effective for improving human life. Remember, humans use different wavelengths of light for different functions. of life. Remember when I ask, what do you think light is? Chroma designs with our biology in mind, from sleep aids and wound healing to mitochondrial energy, full body lights and blue light blocking glasses. They are US made and Chroma ships globally and accepts FSA and HSA payments. Use Autism at checkout for a 10% off discount. That's Autism at checkout for a 10% off discount. So the schedules, the routines, not frequently discussed previously in the podcast. This is that B2. How much interferences are we receiving from the outside world? How much time away from our internal world will there be? Remember, the brain is a prediction machine, autistic or not. We are constantly predicting what will happen to us and preparing for that. The brain is also that metabolic bank accountant. Do I have enough metabolic energy to navigate that task? To undergo that task, and what will that look like for me? How long can I endure that? How much biological energy will I use? So this is the main takeaway here with the schedules and routines, the insistence on sameness and so forth. It's like, how much insults from the outside world am I going to have to kind of endure here that's going to separate me from the place I want to be in my internal world, or learning about a topic, or have minimal social interactions? And this is fascinating too, because autistics, they can go on and on and on about topics they love in social settings. No social implications there. Isn't that interesting to you? At 44, here are some things about me. I don't like making plans. I don't like making recurring schedules, having recurring meetings, anything like that. It gets intense whenever I'm tasked to kind of commit to a weekly schedule, a weekly plan, add something into my already schedule. It is very debilitating. It's very debilitating, is the best way I can say it. I don't like when those external insults are added to me. And this is also going to explain some of the kind of rigid thinking, of course, because it's in the B2, but there are things related here. Interacting with other people. People are the most unpredictable things. Now, knowing what you know about autistic phenotype and the being self-sufficient, and recognizing patterns and understanding processes, you know that the autistic has kind of perfected operations. And when other people are involved and they can't see what is efficient or properly how to do things, that's very frustrating. However, it's hard for us to kind of give leniency to, because it comes pretty easy to us. And then if shown to others and they don't quite pick up or change, understand it, it's very frustrating. Something malfunctioning, something in our environment or something we're using malfunctioning, anything not doing what it is supposed to do, its role. There's a set of rules, there's a rule set here, there's an expectation here. This object is supposed to do this function. This person is supposed to do this thing in this setting or environment. If something like that is disrupted or changed, that is a very big problem. And remember the Autism and Adaptive Responses episode. The medial prefrontal cortex here is a big thing. Its involvement here with being able to be flexible in the environment and provide healthy adaptive responses when something unexpected occurs. That's a big problem with the autistic phenotype and within the autistic phenotype's neurobiology. Set schedules allows us to predict and understand and look forward to our ability to get back into the things that we want to be doing, that internal world, or fixated on an interest. If you're listening to the podcast, listening to the episode, please feel free to leave a review or rating. In podcasting, reviews, ratings, and downloads are huge. I very much appreciate your feedback. You can contact me on X at RPS47586. We can have conversations about autism. You can check out the YouTube channel for all the full-length videos, shorts, and clips. You can contact me by email info.fromthespectrum@gmail.com. And thank you for listening to From the Spectrum podcast.